Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call the November 19th, 2025 regular meeting of the local agency formation to order at 2:30 p.m. We are meeting in the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors chamber and on Zoom for the public. At this point, the clerk will explain how both written and spoken public comments can be made by attendees of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. For members of the public, the instructions on how to participate in today's meeting may be found on the published agenda. On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature or *9 if you're calling by phone to indicate your desire to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now proceed to item number 1. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Rinaldi? Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Commissioner Spear?
Here.
Commissioner Draper?
Here.
Commissioner Wright?
Present.
Vice Chair Chang Corrali?
Present.
Chair Mueller?
Here.
Thank you, Chair. You have a quorum. We're also joined by LAFCo alternate Colleen Yu in the audience, and LAFCo staff, Executive Officer Rob Bartoli, and Management Analyst Sarah Flem, and Legal Counsel Brian Petit, who is sitting in for Tim Fox today. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 2, an open public comment for items not on the agenda and consent agenda. Please note that LAFCo meetings are a limited public forum, and all public comment must relate to something that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. If comments do not relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, we will stop the comment and move to the next speaker. The county attorney will assist in identifying comments that are not related to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you. We did not receive any public comments not on the agenda today.
Thank you very much. We'll now close public comment for items not on the agenda or consent agenda, and we'll move on to item number 3, consent agenda. Do I have any motions to approve the consent agenda at this time?
So I'll second.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and move to the vote.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Draper, seconded by...
No, I'm sorry. Does anyone have any comment on the consent agenda?
Thank you for the correction. That was a motion by Commissioner Spear, seconded by Vice Chair Carl.
Well, it did allow me to go ahead and do my job. So does anyone have any comments on the agenda? No? Okay, we'll go ahead then and move to the vote.
Thank you, and I apologize. Again, that was a motion by Commissioner Spear, seconded by Vice Chair Chang Corrali. Commissioner Rinaldi?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Spear?
Yes.
Commissioner Draper?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chang Corrali?
Aye.
Chair Mueller?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 4, consideration of the municipal service review circulation draft for South County Part 1, Town of Portola Valley and Town of Woodside. Mr. Bartoli.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, before you have part 1, I guess, of our South County review that includes the Town of Portola Valley and the Town of Woodside and their draft circulation municipal service reviews and SOI updates. As you've seen before, but for the benefit of the members of the public that have not, municipal service reviews and sphere of influence updates are LAFCo tools to help inform LAFCo, the public, and other agencies to understand public services, governance, and delivery of those subject jurisdictions, and to help evaluate options for the provisions of those efficient and effective public services. Municipal service reviews, or MSRs, also include SOIs, or sphere of influence evaluations, and a sphere of influence is for the plan of a probable and physical boundaries and the services of a local agency. We'll take this in 2 parts. So I'll go over the Town of Woodside first, and I'll pause for any questions for staff, and then we'll move on to the Town of Portola Valley. Some key issues for the Town of Woodside. The town's general fund is balanced. However, their cost of the existing sheriff contract, which they contract for law enforcement services for, will require the use of reserve or fund balance, enhanced town revenue, or the reduction of the level of services provided by the contract to address an approximately $1 million gap between the contract cost and the general fund revenue in fiscal year 2030 and 2031. The majority of the town is served by on-site septic systems. However, there are some portions of the town that do receive sewer services from either the town itself or from another sewer agency. As development continues to occur within the town may need to consider whether to expand public sewer services, and that service will be required to support any additional development projects. And we'll talk about those particular issues here on the next couple slides. This is just a general overview of the existing boundaries of the town of Woodside, which are orange, and the existing sphere of influence for the town in the yellow. There's approximately 5,200 people, and that population is expected to grow between 2 and 4% in the next couple of years. In their housing element cycle for this for 23 through 31, the town is required to plan for an additional 323 new housing units. And as mentioned, the town is largely served by on-site septic systems. Regarding the capacity and adequacy of public facilities, the cost of the contract currently with the county sheriff's office will outpace town revenue by about $1 million, and the town is exploring potential ways to work with the town of Portola Valley on a joint contract or other types of mechanisms regarding policing and any kind of additional conversations with the sheriff's office. The town is also exploring options for increased access to sewer services. There are existing sewer services in the areas around Kenyatta Road and Woodside Road in the town, meaning that most of those areas that are not in the vicinity of those sewer services do not have access to them and are hence on septic. There's also no sewer treatment facility in the town boundaries. So sewer service is reliant on treatment allocation from either the city of Redwood City or from the Fair Oaks Sewer Maintenance District, which is a county governed district. And they have their own development pressures and needs to address development in those particular areas. This is a map showing the existing sewer service area within the town of Woodside. The purple color is the Fair Oaks Sewer Maintenance District service area. The orange is the West Bay Sanitary District, which is an independent sewer district. The red is what is known as Town Center Sewer assessment area, which is an assessment district of the town itself. So the town provides sewer services in some areas. The town contracts with West Bay Sanitary District to maintain that sewer system. And the town has an agreement with the city of Redwood City for sewage treatment allocation for that particular area. So there are 3 sewer providers, generally speaking, within the town of Woodside. And like I said, there's about 30 to 40% of the town that's currently provided by sewer, with the balance of it on septic. All of the sewage that's generated in this area is then transported via other sewer systems down to Silicon Valley Clean Water Treatment Plant in Redwood City at the Bayshore. So that is the nearest treatment facility for the town. And the town's ability to provide direct sewer services is limited because it does not have its own treatment plant and is reliant upon other service providers to provide that particular municipal service within the town boundaries. The treatment allocation is also predicated upon other agencies granting basically either Fair Oaks or the town center allocations of its own. So Redwood City is a member of Silicon Valley Clean Water Joint Powers Agreement. Fair Oaks Sewer Maintenance District, the county district, which is shown here in purple, is not a member of that. Redwood City grants Fair Oaks a certain allocation of its treatment capacity. And then in turn, basically, Fair Oaks says we have an agreement with Woodside that takes a smaller proportion of that and grants it to the service area for the town of Woodside. So you have smaller pieces of pies that get proportionally that shrink basically as we come to Woodside and their service area. So there is a finite amount of sewer that the county can provide within this area and the town, because the town again has an agreement directly with Redwood City, but that's for a certain amount too that's capped at a certain amount of treatment capacity. And there are areas while there are areas within the town that can meet requirements for septic system, because a lot of the parcels in the town of Woodside are quite large, there are several areas either near Skyline Boulevard or what I'll call is the Emerald Lake Hills area, which is just kind of north of that red grouping of parcels off to the left hand on the map, that have limited potential for septic systems, either due to topography or due to the lot size. And so because they're constrained, really, if there was a need for a replacement of a septic system or to be developed, it would need sewer services. And right now, there's none available within the vicinity of those two areas. Our recommendations on this particular issue, I'll just summarize them here, is that the town should meet regularly with the Fair Oaks Sewer Mains District and the county to discuss sewer expansion related to the district. And they should also review existing connections and monitor sewage flow and the amounts that is flowing to the system to ensure they're within any contracted limits. And because there is a large balance of the town that's currently not sewer by sewer, LAFCo recommends that the town should conduct either a town-wide or area-specific sewer feasibility study for these areas. And that should evaluate either priority areas where development might occur, or the housing element has identified projects that may need to be developed in the future. It should evaluate how services could be provided to those areas and how they would be financed. The town's financial ability, LAFCo does not have any concerns regarding the general fund for the town for fiscal year 25-26. Their budget was approximately for the general fund, $12.6 million. The town is a tax equity allocation agency, and I'll briefly explain what that is. And the Portola Valley also falls in that category. When Prop 13 passed in 1978, it froze property tax levels at whatever rate the agency was charging at the time. There were several agencies that either were charging very low property tax rates or zero property tax rates in this county, including Woodside, Portola Valley, Half Moon Bay, and the town of Colma. For those agencies, it really limited how much revenue that agency could then bring in under property tax dollars. In the case of Woodside, when they did the math and they basically came up with how much percentage of the 1% they received, it came out to about 4.9%. Most of the cities in this county probably average between 10 and 12%. Colma didn't have any property tax at the time, so they got 0%. There were several legislative changes in the 1970s and 80s that tried to address that problem, and one of them was basically creating what is essentially a tax equity allocation to have all those agencies that were considered low tax or no tax agencies for property tax dollars to 7%. So the town of Woodside, Portola Valley, Colma, and Half Moon Bay receive 7% of the 1% property tax dollars. Again, still less in lots of cases than what most of the other cities receive in this county, and certainly a great deal less than what the county share is receiving from property tax dollars. The key part of this, though, for both Portola Valley and Woodside, is a primary source of revenue for the town is property tax. It's both agencies are largely residential. Some have small commercial centers, but the property tax dollars from those residents, that is the main source of revenue for the town. The town has a 5-year capital improvement program, and the town has identified how funds would be allocated for 93% of the costs of those particular projects. For the shared facilities, the town has agreements and partnerships with various agencies, but we do have a recommendation that I think is underway right now, that discussions with the town of Portola Valley and the town of Woodside regarding a possibility of a joint contract or at least some kind of other joint mechanism should be explored regarding police services for both jurisdictions. And then we encourage the town of Woodside to continue its work in natural hazard mitigation and wildfire preparedness like it has before. LAFCo is recommending a sphere of influence update to include 3 parcels that were not previously included when we did the report last for the town of Woodside. There are 3 parcels that are on West Maple Way, adjacent to the town of Woodside boundaries right now. They are all developed with single-family houses. They are all on septic. They are surrounded either by publicly owned land from either the town or the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. And if there was municipal services required to that property, whether it be law enforcement or fire or sewer, the only agency that these parcels could annex to from a city's perspective is the town of Woodside. The rest of it is all unincorporated. Like I said, it's all SOPUC watershed land or other publicly owned lands. So these on the map on the left is showing where those 3 parcels are, and the map on the right is kind of indicating the general area of where those are in relationship to the rest of the town's boundaries. So in order to put them, if they were needing municipal services, the only eligible agency that could annex them would be Woodside. So hence, LAFCo is recommending that we include those 3 parcels in the sphere of influence in case there is a future annexation. There is no indication that there is desired by the property owners to annex at this point, but if there would be, that's our recommendation to include them in the sphere of influence in case there was a future annexation. And with that, I'll pause, and if there's any questions for staff at this time about the Woodside Municipal Service Review.
All right. Are there any questions? Yes.
In the housing element for Woodside, they needed, I believe, to identify the location as to where those units would be. What was not clear to me is whether those sites were adequately served by sewer system or not. Could you clarify?
I can. I will also defer that maybe the town manager is also here from the town of Woodside, Jason Ledbetter. He might have more information about the specifics of those sites and sewer systems.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? My name's Jason Ledbetter. I'm the town manager for the town of Woodside since May 15th. And so there's 2 sites. One is on High Road, which is closest to 84. And that would probably have the easiest time connecting to a sewer line that is going down 84 if we can prove out that there's capacity. And so we have last night at our latest town council meeting, we did approve a contract for a sewer capacity and sewer master plan study for the entire town. And so that's going to kick off here very shortly, where we'll be able to answer some more of these questions based on our contract capacity, because within the town center, we can do 100,000 gallons a day. And then within our other sewer service area, it's 150,000 gallons a day. But there's the High Road, which is probably most closely easily connected to existing sewer. And then on the other side, on the west side of 280, near Cañada, there is Raymundo is the second site in the housing element. And that would require trenching underneath 280 probably to connect to sewer. But all of these things are feasible and will be studied ultimately. They just require money. Does that answer the question?
It does. One
Yeah,
more question on
continue.
storage. Septic tanks or systems fail, and have you experienced any significant failures in the town of Woodside of those systems?
Yes, I believe that we have, and so our general plan identifies that we need to keep a certain percentage, or that we need to be aware to keep a percentage available so an emergency connection to sewer can happen. And so our goal through the sewer capacity study within the master plan that's about to kick off, we're going to start with the town center sewer district, and we're going to mathematically, first and foremost, actually get real data, because right now this is all based off of what I would call dry labbing. So what the anticipated use is for the sewer, we're actually going to monitor the actual use of the sewer to see how much gallonage is being utilized in the sewer on a daily basis, so then we can rationalize how much space we have available for the Raymundo site. And then the town center itself is going through an update, and we have needs there. And then we have the needs within the actual sewer district itself. So some people have already, parcels have already paid to be a part of that sewer, so they're entitled to connect when they want to connect. And then we'll leave space open for the emergencies when we expect septics to fail. And then whatever is left over will be our actual capacity that we'll be able to utilize for future development.
Thank you.
A quick question for staff. I've been trying to reconcile the difference between 323 new houses as proposed by the arena numbers and the 2 to 4% growth rate. How do those compare in terms of for long-term planning in your analysis?
So the growth analysis, we take that from Plan Bay Area and kind of the projections that they have. The RENA numbers, the housing element numbers of the 323 units, what RENA is asking agencies to do is to plan for that development. That does not necessarily mean that that development will happen during that cycle. So it could be that they plan for it, they zone for it, and it happens at a later period in time, which is really what that 2 to 4% growth is incorporating. So you may have 323 units or more built in a 6-year period for RENA, or that may happen later in chunks. So we haven't seen the cycle yet and what those requirements are and there are market forces at play about whether those units will be developed in that time period or at later dates. So that's where we're basing kind of what is the historical growth in town, what will be happening during RENA, but knowing probably that not 100% of those units are going to get built in 6 years. That seems relatively unlikely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So I actually have a couple questions. Mr. Ledbetter, may I ask? Is the Raimundo site the Caltrans site that?
No, the Caltrans site is just an idea at the moment from a prior council member who had been looking into that strip that you're talking about. This would be on the other side of 280, so on the west side of 280, closest to Kenyatta. There is a street, Raimundo, so it is just across the way, technically, from 280. So if you were standing on that site looking across 280, it would be over there.
Okay, so I like Commissioner Draper, I am actually very interested in what the impacts are going to be to sewer as you move toward having to implement your housing elements. I think it's going to be complicated. So, and I think there's going to be significant costs with that because obviously those projects can't sit on septic. The other question I had for you had to do with the fact that within the draft plan, it talks about shared services agreement between Portola Valley and yourself, perhaps one contract for the sheriff. And I fully confess you weren't there at the time, but I have talked with the council members and former council members in the two cities about looking at shared administrative services for the towns to try to bring down costs for administratively for the town. Is that something right now that there's any interest in doing, and would it be helpful to have that be as part of draft recommendations coming from LAFCo?
Yeah, I personally think it would be lucrative for us to analyze that. And, I carpooled over here with Portola Valley. We have a great relationship, and we're both highly interested in bringing our costs down. And we're both coming with fresh perspectives because we're both relatively new to the positions. And so I see opportunities with the building department, building inspections as well. I mean, I'm open to exploring anything that brings a better level of service to the community.
Okay, so I actually then, turning to staff, would like to see how we can implement more of that within this report. I did see the sheriff's contract, which I was happy about, but I'm actually looking for more because I think it's going to help your council members in your cities actually make that case. So if we could go ahead and look at a way to implement that more. And then just one minor detail at page 50, I think it was 53, you spelt my name wrong. So, and the sheriff's name was spelt wrong too. So if we can catch that. Yeah, sheriff was spelt wrong. Any other questions or comments from the board?
This is, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, this is, I know, probably a provocative question, but have you thought of merging the two cities?
You know, when I was coming on, May 15th was my first start date, and that conversation was being had by council members, and certainly, um, it's controversial, I think, probably for community members, but from the administrative staff standpoint, we're open to anything that provides better service to the community. So ultimately, that's a question that I think would be answered by the public and the council better than myself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and move on. Actually, should we take public comment on this portion now?
We can.
All right, so let's go ahead and see if there's any public comment on the Woodside portion.
There are no public comments at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bartoli.
So moving on then to part 2 of part 1 with Portola Valley and the key issues in that particular municipal service review. The town has had a structural deficit for its general fund since fiscal year 21-22. The largest driver of rising costs is the contract with the sheriff's office for, which in the case of Portola Valley, for the contract for 23-25 services was a 59% increase. The town's reserve fund is on pace to be in deficit by fiscal year 29-30 without a new revenue source. The town is currently exploring potential revenue measures to address the structural deficit. The town is currently behind on its financial audits, but it is working to address this with a work program. Recently, the town in September 2025 adopted and completed its 21-22 audits. But as I mentioned, there is a work plan in place that is referenced in the municipal service review that the town is actively making progress on to complete its audits. For similar to the town of Woodside, the population growth between 25 and 30 years, it would be about 2 to 4%. There's no proposed change to its sphere of influence. And for the towns of Portola Valley's regional housing need assessment, the requirement is to plan for 253 new units. The town, in LAFCo's view, meets its service needs by existing development. The cost of the contract with the sheriff's office will continue to outpace town revenue. For fiscal years 25-26, the town currently has an adopted one-year capital improvement program. They are working towards a 5-year capital improvement program. They have paused that. The effort to do that is ongoing. The one-year capital improvement program really was in response to the structural deficit the town was having and trying to address those costs in front of them at that time. Unlike the town of Woodside, the town of Portola Valley is largely served either by septic or by the West Bay Sanitary District. And the district provides sewer services to approximately over 1,000 properties right now. And homeowners are responsible for applying for those annexations and paying for associated costs. The West Bay Sanitary District is a member of the Joint Powers Agreements for Silicon Valley Clean Water, so they are a direct connection to the treatment plant, and they have their own capacity. They serve a large chunk of South County, including Portola Valley, Woodside, portions of Atherton, the majority of Menlo Park, and portions of East Palo Alto. Again, similar to the town of Woodside, the town's primary source of general fund revenue is property tax, and again, also they are a tax equity allocation. Without the additional revenue, though, without any additional revenue, the town expenses will exceed revenue by fiscal year 27-28. If there's no change and no new revenue, there will be $1 million in expenditure cuts in fiscal year 26-27 through fiscal years 29-30. And then, as I mentioned, the reserve fund will be in deficit in fiscal years 29 and 30 as well. The town is well aware of this particular issue, and they're exploring potential revenue measures to address this structural deficit. And the town recently conducted a survey to gauge the public appetite for a potential ballot measure in the next year. And as I mentioned previously, they are behind on their audits, but they do have an active work plan to address that concern. LAFCo supports and encourages the town to continue to evaluate any new potential revenue sources and encourages the town to continue to explore options for the town's general fund in order to adopt a balanced budget. One thing that we do want to just note is, particularly in reference to the town's fund balance, is just that it should be shown in any budget document so they have a sense of how much fund balance and reserve is remaining for the town. We've talked about this with Woodside regarding any shared services, particularly police services in the future. One note that's slightly different is in the next item, we'll talk about Los Trancos County Maintenance District again. And we encourage that LAFCo, the town, and the maintenance district work together because there is a portion of the maintenance district that actually includes the town, or that there's one of the maintenance district's charges is to work on stormwater, and stormwater typically will then go down into the town of Portola Valley. So if there's any efficiencies that could be gained there, we encourage the town to explore that with the county. In the municipal service review, there is a discussion about governance options that I do want to talk about. There is no recommendation in the report to change the town governance structure, but there are several options that have been discussed either at town council meetings or by town committees in the context of addressing the town's budget and structural deficits. And I just like to briefly talk about what those are. Getting to Commissioner Spear's question about merger and consolidation. So one of the items has been the annexation of unincorporated area into the town of Portola Valley, whether that be the Ladera area or Los Trincos Woods, which is a typical annexation. If the area becomes part of the city or the part of the town, there's a protest proceeding. There's proceedings before LAFCo. The town has to make several studies that they would need to put together, pre-zoning, understand a plan for service and what those costs would be. And there would be some new revenue that would come in the form of property tax dollars. The town would still be capped at the 7% amount, though, by law. And they would have to then figure out whether or not that new revenue would offset any expenditures that the town would have to provide services to that newly annexed area. The issue of consolidation. So consolidation in the terms of LAFCo means the joining of two cities located in the same county into one new successor agency. So you're taking two existing cities and forming a new one. That would be what consolidation is. Both towns would need to be agreeable. There would be an election. There's no such example of such a consolidation in the state of California. So no cities have ever merged or consolidated into one new entity. A similar action would be the disincorporation of the town of Portola Valley and then the subsequent annexation by the town of Woodside of that area. Similar, but different in the way that you're not forming a new city then at that point. It's just Woodside expanding its boundaries and Portola Valley no longer existing. There are concerns also about that procedure because again, that's a very unique procedure. Has not been done in the state of California. There's no examples of that either. And given some of the similar natures of the towns, basically on revenue and expenditures, it's unclear about whether those two options really would address the structural deficits, particularly if the cost is the sheriff's contract. The police services still need to be righted. So you may have some reductions, but it may not be clear if that governance change would actually reduce costs in a dramatic way. Then there is disincorporation. So disincorporation by itself means the termination of the existence of a city and all its corporate powers. So it reverts back to unincorporated territory. That would mean that the county would be the local government for that particular area, just like for other unincorporated areas in the county. The land use would revert back to the county, so there would be no longer any local control about any land use decisions. And there would need to be a comprehensive fiscal analysis that's required. We'd have to look at any kind of debt and contractual obligations that are out there. And if there's any outstanding debt, it's the repayment That has to be done by the residents within that old boundary of the city. That debt cannot be spread to the other taxpayers of the county. It would require LAFCo approval. It would require Board of Supervisors approval. It would require a vote again. The last disincorporation of a city in the state of California was in 1970. And that was the only one that's ever been processed since LAFCo has existed since 1863. There are many questions that we would probably need to look at if that was really a choice and path forward, because it has happened so infrequently in this state. The last option is just a little twist on what disincorporation is. So it would be disincorporation, then with another formation of a separate entity, maybe a community services district or something along those lines, that would manage open space and trails within the old boundaries of the town of Portola Valley. Again, this incorporation part, there are many moving parts to that and many analyses that would need to be conducted. With the formation of a new district, that would also be subject to an election along with the disincorporation. It's unclear about what assets could be transferred from the town to the new entity, how the new entity would have, what revenue the new entity would have. Would it have property tax dollars that would be transferred from the county basically at that point to provide those services and functions? What other services would be assumed by this district? So we would need another plan for service. And so again, lots of questions about that particular process as well. And so I want to be very clear though, what is in the report, what is in my presentation today, LAFCo has no recommendation about any of these actions. These are just really referenced in the report to provide additional information to the public, to information to elected officials of the town, to town staff, and to the LAFCo Commission about items that have been discussed by the town. But LAFCo makes no recommendation from staff perspective on any of those actions. I do have a recommendation though for the item itself, and that is to open the public hearing, accept public comments, provide any comments on the municipal service review, and then direct the executive officer to schedule the final municipal service hearing, or service review hearing for the town of Woodside and Portola Valley at the January 21st, 2026 meeting, and circulate drafts to affected agencies, and then direct the officer to schedule any virtual public workshop for the MSRs or to coordinate with the two towns regarding possible presentations to their respective town councils. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the Portola Valley Municipal Service Review.
Commissioner Draper.
I don't know if this is a question, but perhaps it is. In one of our previous MSRs, we looked at, it was a special district that was having financial issues, and they were coming on fast, just like they are here. And one of the things that LAFCo staff did was to inform and talk about the status to the different parts of the county organization. Sheriff was one, the controller was another. I mean, just many different ones that could play a role should all these options come about or be considered. And so do we need to add anything to this report to ask if there's a, well, I should ask you, is there a benefit to be able to have the same kind of conversation? I mean, not advocating one or the other, but just saying, here we are, and this is where we know we are. Does there need to be anything in this report, or should it be a separate recommendation to have those conversations? I think it was also helpful to the district so that when the agency came in, they were not starting from zero. So your thoughts on that
So
recommendation?
on this particular issue, I have had conversations with county staff, so they're aware of this issue. I've had conversations with town staff as well. The town has, I think, done a really good job at understanding this issue, having a response to it, having multiple public comments at public meetings and other settings. The special district that you're referring to, one of their concerns and issues is that they were not necessarily getting that information out to the public.
Well, I didn't want to go there. I just, it's a benefit that you're having those conversations. The other, they were not.
I think,
But I'm just saying that there was a big difference. So
Yeah.
Didn't want to go backwards.
So, but what I referenced by that is that I think they're in a little bit different situation
Okay.
than that particular agency
Okay.
that was under review at that time with those recommendations. Certainly, there can be another recommendation that we include that direct LAFCO staff to continue those conversations with the town, county, and other affected agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Spear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Uh, Not recommended, but certainly something that I'm sure the cities have looked at, the towns have looked at, is a parcel tax or a sales tax to meet the budget crisis they're in. Is that not something we would make a recommendation on?
Usually, generally speaking, I would make a recommendation about just exploring revenue options because I think LAFCO is not necessarily the place to say you should do a sales tax or property tax. I will defer to the town manager who is here, Darcy Smith. She has information about the type of revenue measure the town is looking at right now.
Hello. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here. Darcy Smith, Town Manager. Started on July 28th of this year. And yes, Ms. Spear, we are looking at different options. The challenge with sales tax is that we're a very low sales tax town. We currently generate about $325,000 in sales tax. So probably not enough to move the needle. With property taxes, that's also challenging, as you know, because it requires a supermajority approval currently. And we have, I think, about 1,700 parcels, but many of them are actually statutorily tax exempt because they're special district. So when we analyzed the revenue needed through a parcel tax, it was actually very high, over, I think, $1,200 a parcel. So our initial analysis of that was very unfavorable to achieve the 66.67% required to pass in an election. What we did the community survey on, which is in the report, is a real estate transfer tax, which, as you know, is a tax upon the sale of property. To enact that, we are required to be a charter town. So that is what we are studying right now. And as Mr. Bartoli said, we finished the community survey work. We actually presented to the town council last Wednesday night. And the results of the initial community survey resulted in a favorable outcome if it were to be placed on the election ballot and voted upon by the voters. And the anticipated revenue from the transfer tax that we're looking at, which is $10 per $1,000 of sales, would generate approximately $2 million per year, which, as you know, is a general tax revenue, and that would allow sustainable town services to continue to be provided, and frankly, give us a margin to meet, which is our most expensive cost, which, as Mr. Bartoli said, has been the county sheriff's contract. When the former sheriff came into office, our costs escalated almost 60% in 1 year, which is over $1 million. 1 year, yes, 1 year. We've had favorable conversations with County Executive Officer Callaghy, and we're optimistic that the new Sheriff Bender will be able to meet with Town Manager Ledbetter and I and work on a joint contract. And the sharing of those, especially our administrative costs for the sheriff, could result in more reasonable contract costs. And what we also would really like is to have known annual adjustments to the contract. So the previous sheriff did not commit and would not put that in our multi-year contracts to have annual increases in the contract. So that makes it very hard for a town when you're relying on a huge external contract agency to not be able to budget and plan for annual increases.
And the real estate transfer tax would be a 2/3 vote?
Simple majority,
Oh,
yes. So that's a huge asset to that kind of a tax. Yes.
Mr.
I have a real
Rinaldi.
quick question for City Manager Portola. In order to become a charter city, how long does that process take?
So the deadline to place it on the ballot is, as you know, early August of next year. We have to have 2 public hearings on it. I think they're about 30 days apart. So the earliest public hearing is scheduled for May of 2026, and then an ordinance would be adopted in July to place it on the ballot. There's different approaches to charters. You can have a very exhaustive charter. We are doing what other cities have done, which is a very light charter, can be actually 2 pages. and combined into a single ballot measure with the real estate transfer tax. So for example, if the measure doesn't pass, we remain our general law status.
So let's say everything goes as planned. What would be the time frame that you would become a charter city?
So January 1st, 2027, and we would start collecting the real estate transfer tax with that too. So we would start to see revenues in 2027. And again, for the next year, if we can finalize a joint contract with the town of Woodside for law enforcement services, with the new sheriff, and especially if we can get a multi-year contract with set maximum annual increases, that would definitely help the town with our annual budgeting and forecasting.
I had one follow-up question real quickly. Regarding your sheriff's contract, where is the expense coming into place of where you're seeing the increase in that bill? Because it's been floated to combine administrative capabilities with the town of Woodside, if they're so willing to do so. But I'm really interested to hear from your point of view where those additional expenses are coming, because before, if I read right in the packet, you guys had a capped agreement, and then when the new sheriff came in, previous one, it was uncapped after that.
Correct. That is absolutely true. And the big difference was that we are being charged very high administrative costs. So for our captain and our sergeant and the detective overhead, and then we also pay a lot in overtime costs. As you know, that deputies do pay a lot of overtime because of staffing levels, but that's being passed on to us and without a full accounting of the overtime, for example. And then just all the overhead, equipment fees and vehicle fees and training fees, that's all now passed on to us, and it's a lot of money. What we do pay for and feel responsible for is the actual deputies. So we have a 24/7 deputy in town. That's about 4 FTEs rotating. Woodside pays a little bit more to have motorcycle vehicles, but I would emphasize that is a lot of enforcement on 84, which, as you know, is a Caltrans state highway. We are blessed that we do not have a Caltrans state highway in Portola Valley, so we don't need the motorcycles doing traffic patrols.
Yeah, but those motorcycle units are only for 12-hour shift from 7
Correct.
a.m. to 7 p.m.
A little bit less there, yeah. So they have a lighter approach there.
And they have 2 deputies that are on duty, whereas Portola only has 1, correct?
I think they have 4 24/7 like us.
Is that
It's a
correct,
two
City
two
Manager Ledbetter?
FTEs day, 2 FTEs night. So that's 24/7
Got it.
coverage.
That was in the packet. Thank you.
Just to clarify that, yeah, we have motorcycle coverage with 2 deputies, as you've stated, both working 4 days a week, so Monday through Friday. There's an overlap, but then we actually we pay for 2 deputies, but we pay for 2 deputies to have 1 deputy, if that makes sense. So ultimately, we constantly have 1, but we're paying for a total of 4, I guess.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
She's already answered my question.
Okay,
The last question.
great. So I actually do have a question too then. And I think it has to go actually to something within the report that I think I would just want to. In Portola Valley, as they were going through the housing element, they were looking at an area which was far east from 280 as a potential site. And I don't know if that site was picked or not, but was that site picked very close to the hillside region?
Yeah, so I don't think we picked it initially for the housing element, but right now we're working on a housing element amendment. We are certified. We were decertified last year and then recertified. We are currently certified and working on an amendment to add in some new sites, and we're examining the Fogarty Winery property. That might be what you're referring to, up
That's
off of
exactly what
Skyline.
I'm referring to.
Yes.
Is that within the sewer district, or is that going to need some sort of connection to it?
So I'm not sure if it's within the district, but in talking with the county environmental health, which permits these septic systems, I learned a lot. And essentially what they said is that they think a project with approximately 16 units, assuming they're smaller units, could be served by a community septic system up there. There are, as you know, a lot of properties in the unincorporated county which rely on slightly bigger than an average household septic system. And in talking with environmental health, given the size of the property, which is frankly 13 acres, they do think that they could design a system could be designed up there.
So this is the issue with the housing elements for rural areas, is that you're taking the burden that was on individual homeowners for their septic systems and for their water, well water, and now you have to build systems out without any revenue. And so all of these rural cities don't have revenue bases upon which to go ahead and run these public infrastructure. Yeah. So the question I know we've touched on it a little bit, Rob, but I really think playing out that formula of what that looks like, because it really is, as you explained, there really is no no sales tax base within Portola Valley. And you really don't, there's really no commerce of any type from a major employer that you can go ahead and try to tap either. So as these continuing housing elements come down on them, and they have to try to figure out how to implement infrastructure to support it, you're going to find yourself in that position over and over again. And so I don't, I would like. I was actually surprised when I looked at Portola Valley's draft. I thought it was a little rosier than the picture actually is, candidly. And so, but I just leave that comment with you and staff, and I think it's actually might help your tax measure coming to the ballot for it to maybe be a little less rosy in that regard. So those are my comments. Are there any other public comments?
Yes, we have one virtual hand raised on Zoom. Sid Young. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just looking at my property tax bill. I live in Moss Beach, that's unincorporated, and it says where your taxes go, and 15% go to cities and 20% goes to county. But I live in the unincorporated area, and we don't get that 15%. About that, because it says that 15% fire, police, and other community services. We do have any. We don't have. But we don't get much benefit from the rest of what the county does for us. So we don't have any stormwater control or anything like that. And since Half Moon Bay started contracting for the sheriff, we're getting a little bit less coverage because we used to have a substation in Moss Beach, and now they moved their station down to Half Moon Bay. So we don't see as many patrol cars or anything. So you might think about the other aspects of taking away being a city. Anyway, you'll lose that 15% that you get from your property taxes, and I'm sure the property taxes in Woodside are hefty. As far as having a transfer tax, that's based on property sales, and there can't be that many per year that it's gonna. I'm sure the sales value is a lot, but it's not that many homes sold each year. So it may add a little bit, but it's not going to add tons, especially if there's a downturn in the real estate market. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other public comment?
There are no other public comments. Thank you.
And I didn't mean to be too critical of Portola Valley situation, but just to provide context for my colleagues, last year it was so bad that we were actually looking at the county buying infrastructure from Portola Valley and leasing it back until you could get your measure passed so you wouldn't go bankrupt. And I don't have any problem talking about that publicly because we talked about it publicly at the time in the newspapers. So I really, within this draft report, within the final report, I really want to communicate just how dire the situation is to the residents there in Portola Valley. And with that, we can now go ahead and, did we open the public hearing?
No.
All right, so we can go ahead and close the public hearing. And do I have a motion to accept the draft reports?
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Thank you. That was a motion by Vice Chair Chang Karali, seconded by Commissioner Rinaldi. Commissioner Rinaldi?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Spear,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chen Karali,
Aye.
Chair Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion passes.
Okay, and then can I have a motion to direct the executive officer to schedule the public hearing for the town of Woodside and the town of Portono Valley final municipal service reviews and sphere of influence updates at the next commission meeting on January 21st, 2026, and to circulate the drafts to the county, cities, and independent special districts, and to direct the executive officer to schedule a virtual public workshop for the MSRs or to coordinate the two towns regarding possible presentations to their respective city councils.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, let's go ahead and move to vote.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Rinaldi, seconded by Vice Chair Chen Karali. Commissioner Rinaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Spear,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chen Karali,
Aye.
Chair Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion passes.
Okay, we'll now move on to item 5. Consideration of the final municipal service review for South County Part 1, County Service Area 7, Los Trancos County Maintenance District, and La Honda Lighting District.
Thank you, Chair. Following the September 17th LAFCo meeting, staff circulated the draft report for comment and input. LAFCo received comments back from County Public Works, CSA 7's Customer Advisory Committee, and a member of the Los Trancos County Maintenance District Public. LAFCO staff held a virtual workshop for this MSR and notified the respective advisory committees of the workshop. There were no attendees. As to changes in the report from the draft to the final that you see before you today, there were no changes in the 6 recommendations that were made. There was some information that was added into the final report, and those are summarized here. An update of the Los Trancos County Maintenance District fund balance as $1.7 million, the duration of the Los Trancos Blue Oaks loan as 69 years. The Department of Public Works, the addition of the factoid that Department of Public Works does not have a website for the Los Trancos County Maintenance District. LAFCo has that website, hosts that website, and that the Los Trancos County Maintenance District fiscal year 25-26 adopted budget is $534,000. And staff recommendation to the commission is to open the public hearing and accept public comment on the final report, to accept the final municipal service review and sphere of influence update for CSA 7, Los Trancos County Maintenance District, and the La Honda Lighting Maintenance District, and to adopt the determinations and recommendations contained in this report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commission? There are no questions from the commission. We'll now open the public hearing for item number 5.
There are no public comments at this time.
Thank you. We'll now close the public hearing. Do we have a motion for item 5?
So moved. Second.
Okay, and the motion, as I take it, is to accept the final municipal service review and sphere of influence update for CSA 7, LTCMD, and LHMLD, and adopt the determinations, recommendations contained in the report. Let's go ahead and take a roll.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. That was a motion by Vice Chair Chen Karali, seconded by Commissioner Spear. Commissioner Rinaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Spear,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chen Karali,
Aye.
Chair Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion passes.
Okay. Oh, no, it's okay. We'll now move on to item 6, appointment of chair and vice chair.
Thank you, Chair. So this item requests that the commission appoint a chair and vice chair for 2026. It's commission practice to appoint the chair and vice chair at the last meeting of the calendar year for the upcoming year. The custom has been that these positions rotate by type of commission membership in the following order: county, city, public, and special district. Last year, this rotation was changed to county, special district, public, and city, as all 3 city members were vacant at the end of 2024, with new members joining at the beginning of 2025. If the commission desires to follow this new adopted rotation, it would be appropriate to appoint Commissioner Chen Karali as chair and Commissioner Ann Draper as the public member as vice chair. And we are asking for a motion to then appoint the chair and vice chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, are there any questions from the commission? No. Do we have public comment?
There are no public comments at this time.
All right, can I take a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll
we'll
second
take,
it.
take a s- I think we have 2 motions and a second. We can go ahead and move to a roll call vote.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Martin. Sorry, or sorry, and seconded by Commissioner Rinaldi.
And if I can, through staff, through the chair, to clarify, that motion is then to make the appointments of Virginia Chang Corrali to chair and Ann Draper to vice chair. Is that correct? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rinaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Spear,
Yes.
Commissioner Draper,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Chair Mueller. Thank you, Chair. Motion passes.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 7, LAFCo conference updates and information island item only. Mr. Bartoli.
It is. So the LAFCo held its annual conference for 2025 in San Diego in the late October. Commissioners Chang Corrali, Catherine Slater-Carter, Rinaldi, Greg Wright, and management analyst Sir Flam and myself attended the conference. There were several sessions on city and corporations, a presentation regarding disadvantaged unincorporated communities, and there was also in-depth discussion about local government reorganizations for cities and special districts. Exciting stuff, I know. And the staff report also references the newly elected and appointed LAFCo board members. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. And the other item is item 7B, which is just a copy of the SPEAR, which is the annual LAFCo journal. I will say, though, it was a pleasure to get to know the commissioners more at our conference in San Diego and to take an opportunity to learn more about what our colleagues are doing throughout the state.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments from the commission? Chair Corrali, Vice Chair Corrali.
Thank you. So, I think that the mood for this year's conference was significantly more positive and upbeat than last year's. So a lot of the LAFCOs that had kind of temporarily left I think they're probably going to be coming back, just because things are getting back on track again. So I think that Rob has done a really great job in terms of being a liaison for LAFCO and LAFCO. So he got a lot of kudos, and I just wanted to let everyone know that I think LAFCO can be an important agency or entity, and we've been really happy to be a part of it, and I think it's coming back. And I do want to congratulate. I know it's in the packet, but the city member for the coastal region is Rosemary Kamei from the city of San Jose. She's on their council. And this public member is Roger Anderson from Santa Cruz LAFCO.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments from the commission? Mr. Rinaldi.
Just a real quick comment, Chair Mueller. Just want to thank Executive Bartoli and Management Analyst Flam for their hospitality down at this conference, and encourage anyone in the future to attend it. The amount of benefit that you learn about how this can help our region from learning from other regions within California is priceless. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Wright?
It really was a pleasure to get to know others, and like Commissioner Rinaldi said, to benefit from the experience of others being relatively new. It was very informative, and getting to know not just staff on a more personal level, but getting to know my fellow commissioners on a more personal level, I think will facilitate better communication in the future. And I appreciate the opportunity to have joined you. Thank you.
Except next year it's in Sacramento.
Okay. Any other comments on this item? No. Excellent. All right, it's an information item only, no public comment. We'll move on to item number 8, a legislative report.
Thank you, Chair. LAFCO's been tracking 3 bills that went to Governor Newsom in October. Just a brief update on how those, what happened. Governor approved SB 777. That was the abandoned cemeteries report. The governor approved SB 707. That was the legislation about open meetings and meeting and teleconference requirements. And the governor vetoed SB 5, which was the bill regarding enhanced infrastructure financing districts and community revitalization in investment areas. I will leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the commission? No. Seeing none, that item was information only, no public comment. We'll now move to item 8, Commissioner Staff Reports.
The only item that we have in your packet is a copy of the 2024 ag report for the county. One of the missions of LAFCo is the protection of ag resources, and we typically do include the San Mateo County crop report to our commissioners. I know the county members have already seen it, but the report's put together by the San Mateo County Ag Weights and Measures Office, and we like to share it with our commissioners just to see what the agricultural economy is doing in our county.
And
Thank
the
you.
covers are chosen by the staff from students who submit them. So
From students. From students.
students.
Okay. Any other comments?
Quick comment.
Vice Chair Crowley?
Yep. So I just wanted to thank our LAFCo board for supporting my candidacy for the Special District Risk Management Authority position, and I just wanted to let y'all know that I did win a seat on there. So I'll be part of overseeing the participant pool for insurance for smaller special districts and agencies like LAFCOs across the state. So thank you again so much for your support.
All right, thank you. And I just want to take a moment and thank you all. I had a great year as chair. I enjoyed working with you all and the work product that everybody did. And I'm especially proud of that fact, that first LAFCo meeting we ever had on the coast. I think it was really well received, and I hope we continue to find a way to do that. And with that, thank you all. Adjourn. We're adjourned.
Thank you. Time is 3:36.